All right, everybody, before we dive into today's episode, we have some exciting news to share.
That's right. The Casting Faith podcast has officially partnered with
First Form,
your go-to for the best energy drinks, greens, protein bars, beef sticks, and much more to fuel your fitness and wellness journey.
Whether you're hitting the gym or heading out on the water or just trying to feel better every day, First Form has you covered. It doesn't matter if you're keto, if you're vegan, whatever diet you're on, they have you covered. Think premium protein products, top tier vitamins, and even these delicious energy drinks that fuel this podcast.
Here's the best part. When you shop through the link in our bio, you're not just investing in your health, you're helping the Casting Faith podcast and supporting us to bring you more content.
So go ahead and check it out. Grab what you need because they have you covered, and let's tackle this faith, fitness, wellness journey. Whatever you're on, this is the stuff that will fuel you. And let's dive into today's episode.
I plan on, as long as the Lord allows me to live, to be and having a reasonable portion. I feel like the seasoned saints, a reasonable portion of life, health, and strength. Right, I can borrow that from them because in my 40s I feel good. Well, when I get to my 50s, which is not too long from now, I still want to feel good. I still want to be maybe not lifting the same weight, but I still want to be in the gym. Like there's gentlemen in my gym, 60s and 70s, and they're still getting after it. They're still healthy, right? I want to be like that 20, 30 years from now, because what is the opposite of that? You know, I don't want to be someone that is dealing with all these aches and pains that are, now certain things come with age, but then there's certain things that we accept with age. Because it is and I'll give you, it's case in point, they told me when over 40, you just won't be strong anymore. And that's just not true, right? You know, there's people that are plant-based they can't be strong, they can't gain muscle. So there's things that, and I'm not taking shots at anybody, there's things that become groupthink and it's just accepted. I'm just someone that is, if I hear something that I just don't think makes sense, not talking about Bible. If I hear something in the gym sphere, right? If I could, I don't know if that's a word. I made it a word. If I hear something in that space, gym sphere, yeah, probably should trademark it, right? Yeah. But if I hear that it doesn't make sense, I'm going to challenge it.
I challenge you as a believer, let that power get out.
Blind people received their sight. People have been carried in. We're healed. Nobody touched them. Nobody laid a hand on them. We just praised the Lord and spoke the word of faith, and God began to heal the people.
Here's a fish.
Yeah, let's go!
Oh my gosh, he's a pig.
He landed inside.
He kept me from, God, look how massive this is.
The Casting Faith podcast.
Fish on.
Welcome back to another episode of the Casting Faith podcast. We have Brother Fred Parrott, Reverend Fred Parrott, the fit preacher in the house. We got an awesome show lined up today.
Let's go.
Welcome back.
Happy to be here.
It's been a few episodes since you've been on.
Yes.
This, I believe, will be we're in our 20s now, so this is crazy.
Yeah, I was in one of the first few.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So welcome back, man. We're excited to have you.
I'm happy to be here. And also just shout out to you guys for being consistent, for putting out some great content. And I mean, there's something to be said about consistency. I mean, I talk about it all the time, obviously, but consistency is not something that is the norm. Mm-hmm. So you guys are going against the norm and being consistent, and it's inspired me as well. So
it doesn't come without a cost.
There is a cost. There is a consistency cost.
Yeah.
Somebody should write a book about that, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, it's been fun. I don't know about Sean, but I've been having a lot of fun with this, and I think God has blessed it, and opportunities have come, and it's been fun for sure.
But before we get deeper into this episode, I kind of want to just catch up since it's been such a long time since you've been on. Lots changed. A lot has changed in our format, and we're video now. And so you get a face behind the fit preacher right here. And so lots changed since you last been on. But what's new, man?
Man, that's a loaded question because, I'm always doing something. As my wife would tell you, right? So, the fit preacher. Can I tell the story, the origins of the fit preacher?
Yeah,
how
go
that
for
came
it.
about?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
because that's new.
It is. Yeah. It is new. It is new. So, essentially, on my journey in the gym, excuse me, in my journey in the gym, what I've seen a lot is that I have unknowingly inspired a lot of people to either start working out, to adopt a healthier lifestyle of fitness, which is awesome. And I praise God for being able to be that vehicle because it didn't start out with me trying to be that. I mean, I love the gym. I love the workout. Like I have to work out. So that byproduct of people being inspired. I said inspired. That was weird.
It's all right.
Okay. Leave it in there.
We are in a basement.
It's all right.
Yes, hopefully there's no spiders around me. But anyway, inspired. And people have told me, hey, I like your videos, like on IG. Or some people would say, hey, I want to lose some weight. Can you write a plan for me? Which I do and have done. And it kind of turned into, hey, you work out, you're kind of fit.
Kinda.
And you're a preacher also. And it's like, yeah. So there was a guy, as I knocked the table over.
You're right.
There was a guy in the gym one day, and I'll give you the podcast version of the story. And but essentially we're working out, and I usually don't train on Sundays anymore because it's just a lot. But it was a Sunday afternoon that I was training because I couldn't get in Friday or Saturday because of the schedule. And I was working out, and the guy's like, "Oh man, you're in here on a Sunday." We see each other during the week, and I was like, "Yeah, because of church and everything in the house schedule, I couldn't get in." And he's like, "Oh man," he's like, "Oh, you go to church?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I didn't at this point say what I do, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, man. Those preachers, man, they don't really work out that much." This is kind of where he was going with it, and I was like, "Well, I'm a preacher." And he kind of looked at me and he was like, "No, I didn't mean no." And I'm like, "I'm not offended. I'm not offended at all." And so from that moment and talking to him, that's kind of where the evolution of the fit preacher started, because I want to look like, I don't want to just look the part as far as being apostolic, like in attire and what we believe. That's part of it, right? But however, I want to present myself physically in a way that looks like that I love Jesus, I follow these biblical principles, but I also discipline my body. And I wanted to look a certain way. I'm not trying to be in a bodybuilding contest or anything like that, but you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is that I believe that faith and fitness together, they should be together. And I know that there's different conversations about, faith on this side and, the verses about that would speak to how much fitness is really worth. But I feel like if you really boil it down, if I'm going to be an effective witness, I need to be healthy.
Yeah. And dude, I add to this a little bit. I had a conversation with a buddy. I was pretty young. I was still in high school, and I was witnessing to one of my friends. He was a football player, linebacker. And we were on the wrestling team together. So we hung out a lot. And he just started coming to church with me. He hadn't received the Holy Ghost or been baptized yet, but he'd been coming pretty often with me. Mm-hmm. And one of his struggles was worldly music. And I complete honesty, I've never struggled with that. Like, I've never had issues guarding that part of my life. Mm-hmm. I love music.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I've never listened to worldly music, but I never struggled with it. Like, I need to listen to this, or it's in my ears all the time. It's hardly ever in my ears, unless I'm in a store, the gym, something like that.
Right.
But he looked at me and he goes, it's just so hard because there is so much music out there. There's just not enough godly music out there in different genres and different styles. And I'm looking at him like, yeah, there is. Like, and I'm rattling off all of the genres of music, because there's Christian rap, there's Christian rock, there's Christian metal, there's Christian everything.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like listing all of these things out, and I'm like, dude, there's so much out there. And so when you say the story of this man saying, well, there's no fit preachers out there. There's no preacher out there that cares about his health. Well, that's like an overstatement. You could, and I'm sure, like, immediately you're like, excuse me, I'm a fit preacher. Like, we are out there, you know, like, I care about my health. And so a lot of times people just get into this way of what they see and their perception. And it's hard to get them out of that until you present them with, hey, no, this is, look, let me show you, this is the way, you know, this is
absolutely
this way, you know, that's not all, you're kind of generalizing here, you know. And so
definite over generalization. And so that's where, and I wasn't offended by him, but it made me think about the fact that, you know, for my platform, for example, for the young kids, or I was telling Sean before we started recording, the teens, 20s, 30-somethings that look up to me in a way for fitness and then faith as well, for someone that is a preacher, but then he's in the gym. He does these things. So I want to represent and show up and show them that it's possible. You know, so that's kind of how the Fit Preacher evolved, really, from that interaction. And then it's kind of taken on a life of its own. You know, like, there's merch now. I have different preachers reaching out
that's awesome, man.
that want some because they want to represent that. So it's like, it's kind of a movement, if you will, for the preacher to say, I'm going to be healthier. Yeah. I'm going to adopt this lifestyle. And I represent that. And
it's like part of this struggle that we all have just to remain balanced in life. And if you're a preacher or not a preacher, even just like anyone, Christians in general, we have to find this balance. Sean and I love to fish a ton, right?
Yeah.
But we're fathers. We work. We have ministries. We have all kinds of different responsibilities. If all we ever do is be out on the water, that's imbalanced. You know what I mean? If we're not like being intentional with maintaining every aspect of our life, you fall into imbalance. And a lot of people, their physical health, which is a shame, their physical health is like the last thing they're worried about. And it's like, man, like, and you can speak to this too, but like, I've found whenever I put when I prioritize my physical health, not above my spiritual health, but when I prioritize it above other things, everything else I'm more effective at.
Yeah. I would say, obviously, faith is first without question. I would say that in order for you to show up for your family, rather, after faith, your fitness has to be right there. And I would say, some people are probably going to say, oh, the family. I'll put it to you like this. If you are sick, how do you show up for your family? If you physically don't feel well, if you're sick, if you're dealing with health issues for lack of fitness, let's just put it that way, right? And I'm not trying to be preachy at anyone. I'm making a point. There's a lot of people, the first thing people say that I talk to is, I don't have time, right? That's the first thing people say. But I look at it this way. If you don't make the time for your physical health, then it's going to suffer. Your family time is going to suffer. If you're sick all the time, if you're not feeling good, or if you're dealing with different ailments that are avoidable because you didn't handle your fitness. Now, that's, when I say fitness, I'm talking about physical fitness and what you eat together, like your overall fitness. If we don't prioritize that, it's going to come to get you sooner or later. It's going to bite you, because you're going to. And I want you to be there for your family. Have all the family time. Create the moments. But if you're not the best version of yourself, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
How does that How does that work? So I understand people are busy. So your job is going to be, you got to provide. So you got your job. A lot of people, they're working on both ends. Some people, in this day and age, they got 2 or 3 different jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So then the family time is already limited. So then they probably feel guilty because they got to have the family time when they're not working. So I understand it. It's natural, and we're all dealing with that in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah.
But then you're tired because you're working, you're burnt out, and so then you're sacrificing a lot of times sleep because we're just busy, and then you don't make time for the gym. So you're probably not sleeping as well. You're probably not eating as well because you're on the run. So it's more fast food, more things that aren't really the best for your body. And I'm not saying don't ever eat, certain things. I'm not being that. I'm saying think of the cumulative toll of what the damage you're doing to your body physically, and then not being able to recover because you're not sleeping well. And eventually that's going to take a toll. Sometimes people get sick and they're like down for a week. A lot of times your body is just saying, I need rest. And I'm going to reset you because you didn't do it for us. Like that's a real thing. But we don't think about it like that because we're just busy. We're on the go. We're here. We're there. And I get it. I'm just as busy as anybody. But I'll say that that's a long way for me to say I prioritize faith and fitness together so that I can show up for my family.
Right. And that's interesting because most things, spiritual in nature, the spiritual kind of mirrors the physical, or the physical mirrors the spiritual. And so to say that, I've heard this argument before. We talked about this a little bit, that, people use the scripture that says bodily exercise profited little as kind of a wall to hide behind to eat, their, Denny's Grand Slam every day or whatever, like they hide behind this wall. It's like, it doesn't profit, or it profits little, but that's not really what the scripture is saying in that text.
Completely out of context.
Yes. Right. And so people do this all the time with scripture, but we know that the physical and the spiritual kind of parallel. Yeah. And so for me, it's like when we take care of our physical health and we take care of our spiritual health, then we're balanced, then we're healthy. If your spiritual health is through the roof, but you're on death's door because you didn't maintain your body, how effective can you be for the kingdom?
What can you do effectively for the kingdom and ministry-wise if you're sick, if you're afflicted, so the scripture, we talking about that scripture, right? I would flip it and say, what does it profit you to have high blood pressure, to have diabetes, to have all these different ailments that are preventable? I'm not talking about something that has come upon you that you're dealing with. And obviously we'll pray for you if they're dealing with different health ailments. I'm not saying this in a negative way. A lot of people deal with different ailments. What I'm saying is if there's something that is in your control, something that is preventable. I'm not talking about hereditary things, or I know there's a lot of different medical things that we're not going to get into, but the things like if you have fast food 5 days a week, that's in your control.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. Now I love French fries just as much as anybody else. I'm not going to eat it every day, right? Why? Because that eventually I'm going to start looking like what I consume. Now that'll preach in the spiritual as well, in the natural. But if we're dealing with the natural right here, if I always and honey buns and donuts and all these different things that taste so wonderful, is that moment worth what it's going to do to your physical body? That would be what I say to the people that use that scripture, because that's usually, and let's just be honest. And I'm not trying to come at anybody, but I'm just saying usually when people say that, those are the people that don't want to work out. And you don't have to be in the gym as much as me. I love it, and it's a lifestyle for me, right? But if you don't have a balance of just some kind of physical activity, your body is going to break down at some point. Like that's a literal medical fact.
Yeah, man. And it's important because this hardly ever gets talked about. because spiritual health is priority. We've said that a bunch already. Like that matters the most. Like, you need to pray, you need to fast, you need to read your Bible, you need to attend church.
Absolutely.
You need to maintain your spiritual self above all else. Once you do that, other things fall into place. But we hardly ever hear the physical thing, like taking care of your body, eating the right things, because we've I don't know, like, I grew up in a house where, you know, my grandpa knew how to cook, my grandma knew how to cook, but we were picky eaters. They took us in, and you know, a lot of times it was rotisserie chicken from Giant Eagle, and it was potato salad, and it was mac and cheese, and that was a quick meal. Or it was, you know, takeout almost every night. He was a truck driver, and we would. My grandma was taking care of 6 kids at certain points, and it was just easier and more convenient to just feed us that. And that kind of developed into like, and we had control over the cabinets, like as kids, like we could just go and get whatever.
Free for
like,
all.
and that is where my relationship with, you know, Little Debbie's and Hostess and all these things, like the snacks and
so moderation, right? I'm not telling people that, you know, because I like Oreo cookies, you know, and different things that I indulge in at times, but you have to have moderation, because there is a cost to that convenience of the fast food too much, the Oreo cookies too much, all the different things. It will take a toll on your body, and I think that a lot of times what I think is that because we don't want to offend people, we don't want to talk about the physical things. So we focus on and there's never a wrong time to focus on the spiritual things, right? But if we don't balance and think about the total man or the total woman as far as wholeness, then we're kind of doing people a disservice, right? Because if you're, like I said, if you're not physically healthy, then how equipped are you to serve? Because that's what we're supposed to do.
And I think this is important to point out too, is that it's a learned thing. Balance is learned. And you know, if you grew up like I did, you know, if you become an adult and you get out on your own, and all you've ever known is eat whatever I want to eat, stay up as late as I want to stay up, watch whatever I want to watch, listen to whatever I want to listen to, do whatever I want to do. There's no like filter. There's no guardrails in your life. And so you have to kind of place those. And it's easy when you go to church every Sunday, and you go to a good church like ours, FAC Talmadge, shout out. If you come to a good church like ours, you're going to hear great preaching, great teaching, great instruction, phenomenal messages every Sunday, every Wednesday, phenomenal music every Sunday, every Wednesday. You're a spiritual man. You're going to learn very quickly. Even new converts, you know, can come in, and in a year, they're going to be transformed just by being faithful to the house of God. But the physical stuff, if you weren't taught, how could you know? How could you know? If the only model that you've ever had was junk food, takeout, laziness, you know, I'm speaking from experience. I had to learn. And how do I learn other than experience? Or people like you come along and say, hey, there's another way. You'll feel so much better if you do this. Yeah. And so I don't think it's not meant to be it's not a negative thing to point out this issue that everyone is dealing with and say, hey, this needs addressed. And so, man, I appreciate what you're doing with the Fit Preacher and bringing attention to this needed thing, because speaking from as a father and as a minister, it's, you know, I'm at the age now where I'm looking towards the future, and my daughter is the age I was when we first started attending Talmadge. And it's like, so like I can remember where I was, where she is right now. And it's powerful. Like, man, and now I'm looking forward, and I'm thinking back to where my grandfather was when I was this age, and where, you know, my family was when I was this age. And I'm like, okay, he's had these many heart attacks. He's had this surgery and that surgery. He's had so many open heart surgeries that he doesn't have a sternum. And the quality of his life right now, he's alive, thank God. And Pop, I love you. But the pain and the constant pain he's in right now, I'm like, okay, well, I could end up like that if I don't make decisions right now. And so it's funny because like, I feel like I have a good grasp on the spiritual stuff, but even today, like I got off work at 2:30. I went home and I'm like, okay, prepare for the pod. We got Fred coming in. We're going to talk about all these things. And I'm like, I haven't worked out today. And I did good eating today. I did all the things I needed to do that. I was like, okay, it's 2:30. Let me jump on the treadmill. And I ran a mile. And then I jumped on the bench and I did my workout. And it wasn't a great workout, but it was a workout. And I did it. Yeah. And then I get on the car and I head over here and we hit the white wall of water. I'm like, I'm going to be late again. I'm going to be late again. But I did the thing that I needed to do. Yeah. I checked it off. I did what I needed to do to maintain what I'm going for. And so
consistency.
It's those little things that you have to just decide, okay, just as much as I'm going to hit the alarm the night before on Saturday to get up on Sunday and prepare my sermon or prepare my worship set or prepare in that way, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to find a point in the day where I can get this important thing done.
Absolutely. You have to have non-negotiables in your life. And I know it looks different for everybody because there's different family structures and different, schedules. You got people that work first shift, second shift, the third shift, or whatever the case may be, and then larger family, smaller family, and then all your different responsibilities. So I understand it, but there's always a way. There's always a way, and it just becomes a matter of how important is it to you to find the way and to get it done. Because I tell my kids this, that an excuse can you can always have an excuse. And it can make sense, and it can feel good, and it can be even valid. It's still an excuse. And so, like I tell it to my kids, I'm not saying that you listen to kids, but what I'm saying is it's a principle. And so I have to lead by example. If I tell my kids something, then they have to see me do it in practice. My kids know, they don't know a more disciplined person than me. And that's so I don't say that in a braggadocious way. They don't know a more timely person than me, because I don't just say that to you guys. I live that as well, right? So I try to train them to be that, not like a robot, like do what I do, but I want to help them because that will help them in life to be on time, to be consistent, to be someone that does what you say you're going to do. Be the person that shows up because you made a commitment. So I have teenage sons now at this point. Tell them the importance of what a man does, what a man does not do, And so those things are important. And those are life lessons. I pass them on to them because one day I'm not going to be there to be in their ear. I'm not trying to sound morbid and things like that. But I was telling Sean before, I'm 44, right? So I'm closer to the midway point than the beginning. But I feel good. I like to think I look good. My wife thinks I look good, so that's all that matters. Yeah. But I have a good level of fitness, and so I'm enjoying life. I'm not having pains and different things like that, because another misnomer is that after 40, everything's downhill, and that's just not true. That's a mindset. That's something that you accept. And that's a cop-out. It's an excuse to be lazy, to not clock in, and I'm just not going to do that. So I keep clocking in, and God is blessed that people have been inspired by it, and so it's turned into different things and projects and things that we're working on now.
Yeah, man. And I was when I was getting ready, I know better too. When I was getting ready,
talking to the mic,
I went, I could just get my stuff together. I could get an early start. I don't need to do this. I'll do it when I get home. And then I thought, Fred wouldn't agree with this. Fred would say, get on that treadmill. Fred would say, lift up them weights.
You would say that. Yes.
And so I did. And so you even motivate me, man, to keep going. And we touched on this a little bit, but I know that there are people right now listening who have already decided physical health needs to be a priority in my life. They decided this on January 1st, right? They decided the diet's starting, the gym membership was bought, I'm doing this, and this, and they were strong for up until like February or maybe March, but now we're in May, and now we're here, and people are starting to feel that pull towards other things, and life got busy and reality set in, and the fun and the excitement of it and even plateaus have happened to where they're not seeing progress anymore. What would you say to those people to stay on track and not to fall off the rails? Because if I'm honest, man, I've done that. Like I've had ambitious goals, and I've been doing this for a long time, and it's been a thing where like I'll fall off, but I know I can get back on. And if I fall off, it might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, it might be 2 months, but I'm going to get back up and I'm going to do it again. And so what would you say to the people who maybe fall off or have fallen off, and maybe just kind of reignite that passion they had in January?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is to just don't beat yourself up, because we have all been there and it happens. So don't beat yourself up, because the only thing that separates you from doing the thing. So if we're using January 1st and the New Year resolution as a barometer, obviously, you guys know I don't really subscribe to that, just because for what you're talking about, a lot of people, they'll set a goal, but they don't have a plan, but they're sincere. So if you set a goal, you have no plan, you're sincere, what's going to happen is you will sincerely fail, because there's nothing that's guiding you. There's no plan. There's no steps that help you get to where you need to be. And so if you're not going to be disciplined, because that's going to be, it's not going to be this earth-shattering thing. I'm going to tell you what it simply is. It's going to be discipline. And what I mean by that is discipline is you're going to have to do the thing that you said you were going to do because you said you were going to do it. And maybe that sounds simple, but in practice, it turns into, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to eat better because I said I'm going to do it. And what that means is, regardless of what you feel like, regardless of all the other circumstances, this is what it's making a commitment to yourself. And so if you can be disciplined, then it's just one foot in front of the other. One day, you got to stack the wins. So you have to start from, I'm making a plan. Like, first of all, how many days in the week do you have to work out? A lot of people don't even know that, because you're busy and you're all over the place. And I understand that. But busy and all over the place and no plan just means in May and June and July, you're going to be busier, still not have a plan. And then, so we're in a season right now where if you have a large family, you can relate. You probably have kids in multiple sports. Or even if you don't have a large family, you want to be outside because the weather's good. You guys, you want to fish. Maybe you want to just take a stroll with your wife, or whatever the case may be. Gym may not be on the top of your list, but if you don't have it on your list, then it's not going to be achieved, and so you'll just have the regret. So I would say the number one thing is going to be discipline, and I'll say it over and over because when I have these conversations every day with people, they have the best intentions, but the intentions minus the discipline, you're still not going to get it done. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think back to the story that you were sharing with us about the man in the gym, right? Who was like, oh, I don't know any fit preachers, right? If you say, people remember what you say. And it's bit me before, where I've said something like, oh, I do this. And then a year later, I'm not doing that. And people notice that. And I feel like from that man's perspective, well, I don't listen to preachers because this.
Yeah.
And well, if a preacher says something, or if a person says something and they don't honor what they said and they don't live that word, well, that's inconsistent. And it's almost, It's borderline hypocrisy, right? And so we have to be men of our word. Yeah. If we say we are something and we don't live that way, then we're not.
because somebody's watching. So for the person, just for the example, and nobody in particular, and don't be offended if this hits you. If you were someone that said January 1st, I'm going to do this, and this, and you haven't done it. Like I said, first of all, you can start again tomorrow. So that's the beautiful thing about life is as long as the Lord Jesus Christ wakes you up tomorrow, that's another chance.
Yeah.
Great is his faithfulness. The mercies are renewed every day. So if you have another day, you have another shot, which also means there's no excuse. But I digress. So here, if you wake up the next day, okay, it's a new day. You have a clean slate. What can I get done in this day? What is the priority? And if I don't care if it's just you do 25 push-ups beside the bed and some crunches before you start your day. That's better than nothing, right? I think people fall into I haven't done it, so then I'm not going to do anything, which is the worst thing that you can do because so nothing happens. Because you do realize if nothing happens, then nothing happens.
Yeah.
That sounds redundant, but it's a point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think what I was trying to get at in that point of bringing that story back up is that, we have to do what we say we're going to do because people are watching. And if they can't trust us on something seemingly to the most of the world, well, that's just physical health. That's just exercise. That's not priority. That's not the most important thing is spiritual things. Well, if you say you're going to do something for your physical health, if you say you're going to do something in business, if you say you're going to do something at work and you don't do it, how could you expect somebody to trust what you say on a spiritual level?
Yeah.
Like the physical is just the physical. This is all temporary. This is just fun. This is just life. This is just, it's a hobby. Yeah. Well, if people can't trust you for these seemingly unimportant things, which we now know and believe that it's important, how can they trust you with their eternity?
What the man was saying, and not so eloquent words, but what he was saying was, if the preacher isn't disciplined, how can I listen to him? If you break down what he was saying, I don't see fit preachers. Which I know you guys are out there, and I know that there's a lot of guys that are working on it, and I get texts, I get DMs, and people that want help that are doing better. And shout out to everyone that is taking their physical health serious as well. But what the man was saying, if we break it down, is that if I don't see discipline in you in this area, how can I trust you with spiritual matters? That's essentially what he was saying.
And that's kind of a valid concern, in my opinion.
I think it is. And I know that it's probably a difficult conversation because people would maybe be offended and things like that. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. What I'm trying to do is show people that it is possible for you to preach the gospel. It's possible for you to show up in your church or in your community or whatever you do on the faith side of things. But then it's also possible for you to do that and have the fitness dialed in as well.
Yeah.
Together, faith and fitness.
And for the record, I know some not fit preachers that are amazing and that do more than I ever could dream to do. You know what I mean? In ministry. And I'm not attacking anybody for that. But
and we're not saying that you have to be a preacher that also is trying to get ready for Mr. Olympia next year.
The point is,
right?
The point is balance. In all things.
Yes.
Moderation in all things and balance in all things. I think that we need to be balanced people as believers. I think that's the way God would want us to live our lives.
Absolutely.
And the benefit of it is just longevity.
Yes.
You're going to be around a lot longer so you can do kingdom work a lot longer,
that's
and more effectively.
I plan on, you said it right there, effective. I plan on, as long as the Lord allows me to live, to be and having a reasonable portion. I feel like the seasoned saints, a reasonable portion of life, health, and strength. Right, I can borrow that from them because in my 40s I feel good. Well, when I get to my 50s, which is not too long from now, I still want to feel good. I still want to be maybe not lifting the same weight, but I still want to be in the gym. Like there's gentlemen in my gym 60s and 70s, and they're still getting after it. They're still healthy, right? I want to be like that 20, 30 years from now, because what is the opposite of that? I don't want to be someone that is dealing with all these aches and pains that are, now certain things come with age, but then there's certain things that we accept with age, because it is and I'll give you just case in point. They told me when over 40, you just won't be strong anymore. And that's just not true, right? There's if people that are plant-based can't be strong, they can't gain muscle. So there's things that, and I'm not taking shots at anybody, there's things that become groupthink and it's just accepted. I'm just someone that is, if I hear something that I just don't think makes sense, I'm not talking about Bible. If I hear something in the gym sphere, right? If I could, I don't know if that's a word, I made it a word. If I hear something in that space, gym sphere, yeah, probably should trademark it, right? Yeah. But if I hear that it doesn't make sense, I'm going to challenge it, because why? I want to know the why to it. And so as far as in my little, I'm not like a bodybuilder and things like that, but as someone who's an avid gym bro, let's say it like that, I've defied those norms.
Yeah. Would you say there's like more? So like you can see this is just a question from me to you. In my life, I've tried several diets. I've tried several different programs. I did P90X all the way through when it first came out.
I did that too.
I did. I've bought the weird tech. I've fallen into the fad stuff, and that stuff happens.
The ab roller and all that.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about the shake weight, but there's lots.
I did have it.
There's lots of things out there. My experience, and it's been is that there's more. This is one area. There's a lot of right ways. There's not just one way. I think fitness is the thing that, in physical health is the thing that there are many roads to success.
Absolutely.
And it's personalized, right?
Yes.
I can't do what Fred does right now, and I may never be able to do what Fred does 10 years from now, but I can be healthy. Yeah. And I can be, Absolutely. And I can have my goal and I can achieve my goal. I'm never going to be 6'5", I'm never going to be 6 foot, I'm never going to be that. I can't, there's limitations to things. And so setting realistic goals for yourself in each season, I think is a big deal. Right.
1,000%.
And I think there's a lot of people that have really ambitious goals right out the gate, and they go hard in the paint for a few months and then they fall off because they're not seeing the progress that they dreamed of. And so what would you say to somebody who's just starting?
I would say you got to have realistic goals, and then you have to be consistent. And then also, you can't compare yourself to others, because to what you said, I got all that from what you just said. Because the average person, they're gonna scroll on social media, and I want to look like that. Mm-hmm. Well, you're not taking into account that for some people, they just have better genetics. Like that's a thing. Like, if you have great genetics, some people just don't have to work out that much because that's in the genes. Now, for some people that don't have those, aren't blessed with those type of genetics, you got to work. You got to get after it a little more and work a little harder. And if you're not a stranger to hard work, then that'll be fine. But you can't compare yourself to someone, because you'll get disappointed if you don't have their results. And if you're not consistent, you're not going to get results anyway. And then if you don't have realistic goals and expectations, you're going to burn out, because you're going to try to get to the thing too fast, and your plan was not realistic. So then when you don't achieve the results, you'll stop, because you'll say, oh, but this is not working. Well, maybe you need to dial in your plan a little bit, make it a little bit more realistic, and then just be consistent. Because that's what I see mostly is people, it's a combination of those things I just said, and then they're not consistent enough to have anything happen anyway. They'll just quit. Oh, I got busy. Okay. I mean, if that's what you want to say, then, and I'm not judging anybody either. I'm talking about because I have every day, there's conversations I have with people that want to get in better shape and they want to do the thing, but not everyone is willing to put that level of discipline in their life. So some people will say, well, I can't wake up early like you, or I can't do such and such. Well, I've actually had a shift in my life where I don't work out as I used to be the 3 a.m. guy that everybody knew, right? But job and family have shifted to where now, in being a year older, a little bit wiser, I've shifted more priority on the amount of sleep that I get. And and now I've shifted my workout times are various now. Now, that doesn't mean I don't do it. It means I might have to do it on a lunch break, or I might have to do it a little later in the day than I would prefer to, but I still do it. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Are you willing to be consistent enough to get the results? And are you willing to be disciplined enough to know that this is what I want, this is my goal, and I'm going to get it? Because a lot of people, I think some people quit too soon. Mm-hmm. And they're so close and they have a great plan and they're really well-intentioned, but then they get frustrated and they give up. So that's the answer that I would give to that.
And I think too, that parallels prayer. Yeah. Like that's the first thing I thought of is, man, I used to get up at, super early and just pray, do my devotion. Right? I mean, everybody's been here and get up real early.
Oh yeah.
And Jesus, I love you, Lord. And you fall back asleep and it's not effective. You're not being effective. Like, do you pray before the backbone coffee? Do you pray before the first form energy? Do you pray before it? Or do you wake up and get yourself ready and then do the thing you need to do? And so, but the Bible says to constantly pray. And you find ways and moments in your day to do that and be intentional about it. And I think it parallels with fitness too, man. It's like,
absolutely.
It was my goal today to be on the treadmill at 5:00 in the morning to run that mile, but church went late. We congregated after.
Yes.
If I got up at 5 and did the exercise the way that I had planned, I would have only gotten 4.5 hours of sleep last night,
right?
Which is not good. That's counterproductive.
And I'll say that I was doing that and I was burning myself out. I was showing up, but then I wasn't as effective in the rest of my day or the rest of my life because I was like short-circuiting the growth. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know, you do need a decent amount of sleep in order for the muscles to repair themselves. Mm-hmm. So as much as I was doing in the gym, I wasn't seeing the results I could have because the body just wasn't having time to repair itself. Mm-hmm. So I had to change my plan. It's okay to make adjustments to your plan if something is not working. If you're not getting optimal results, let's say, you're fine to make adjustments. I would say if you don't make adjustments, then you're kind of just, if you're just so stuck on, well, this is what I started, but if it's not getting you the results, then it would be foolish to just say, it's like if I'm driving somewhere and then I'm like, well, this is the way I've always went, but there's construction. And I'm like, well, this is the way I've always went. Well, there's hazards. You can't continue to go. You got to take a different route. No, well, but this is the way I've always, that's foolish, right?
Yeah.
But that's how some people do with life. This is the way I've done it, and I got to keep doing it. And I was that foolish person that's like, well, no, I got to wake up here, and I got to do this, I got to do that. I'm very regimented with time, but after bumping my head on the wall enough, I'm like, you know what? I got to adjust because I'm not getting the results I need. So making that one switch changed everything from a physical standpoint, and strength again started going through the roof, and just prioritizing the sleep, which should sound basic, but even I was like, no, I can focus on 4 hours of sleep. And maybe for a day or two of that, but sustainable, not sustainable. Your immune system's going to break down, all this. So I'm saying this to say to people that all the things that you would say, well, that's silly. I've done silly things. We've all done silly things, but it's when you know better, you do better. I know that's a thing that like your grandma would say, but that's wisdom. When you know to do better, and there's Bible on it also. If you know to do something and then you don't do it, the Bible causes something for that, right? So that's what I would say.
So good, man. So good. And it helps me to have friends that have this mindset and to be as close as we are, to have that extra motivation and being intentional with these things that kind of get overlooked a lot. And man, I'm appreciative of all of that, what you said, and the passion behind this thing that you've started. We're really excited to see it grow and apply it. You know, even if it's just right now at the stage that I'm at in life, even if I just apply, we talked about this a little bit, just that this is the stage I'm at, what's achievable, and then build upon that as we go, you know? Yeah. And so,
because you'll always be in a different stage. Mm-hmm. You know, you'll be in a different stage of life. You'll be in a different stage of ministry, different stage in your marriage. Things are always going to be shifting. There's the ebbs and flows of life. You just have to be aware of them and then make the adjustments, you know? Mm-hmm. And then because I know people are hearing like, oh yeah, but no, that takes years and it takes the discipline, but no one said it was easy. Mm-hmm. Like, is it hard sometimes? It is hard, but do you want the result or are you comfortable with the excuse? I just decided I'm not going to be comfortable with the excuse. And that doesn't make me any better. It doesn't make me anything. You know what it makes me? Someone that made a decision. That's it.
Man, yeah, that's awesome.
Hey guys, we're proud to announce that we have officially partnered with Backbone Coffee.
That's right. Whether you are on the water
or hunting or working
or on our podcast, Backbone Coffee is delicious, rich, bold blends.
What do you got there?
At an affordable price. We got the overtime grind,
graveyard shift,
and jack of all trades.
We're going to move forward in the episode to overrated, underrated, and I have like questions here. So this is overrated, underrated, fitness edition, okay? Because I've made my mistakes with the shake weight and the Bowflex and all the things, So we got some questions, and Sean, you can jump in and ask your questions.
I am
related.
Here, by the way.
I know, like, is he gonna say anything? But man,
I will
I'm
preface that statement real quick, just to clarify. I'm not a fit guy, so I don't have much to add. That's why I've been so quiet.
Don't sell yourself short, man. You lost like 20 pounds this year.
And then I was the guy that started and then
Sean
stopped.
Sean, we go to the same gym. I got Sean in my gym, and Sean would be there really early getting after it. So don't let him fool you. He does have it in him, right? He has a lot of things going on in life, and he's working like crazy. He's taking care of his family. He's doing all the things he's supposed to do. But he's busy, so that's one of the things. He's in a season of life. He's busy.
Yeah,
he's a young married. He's busy. Yeah. So I get it. So I get it. You guys out there, I understand. I'm not like a robot.
That wasn't a shot at you either. I'm speaking to myself. Today was the first good workout that I had since Easter. So we had the drama. Yeah. The beard is gone, by the way.
Oh,
praise God.
Yeah. Well, who's this new guy?
Yeah,
we got two new guys on the
podcast. Today was the first great workout I had,
awesome.
Since Easter. And I was getting to the point where it's like, I'm going to eat this morning I didn't eat breakfast, and I didn't have any more Firstborn protein bars, peanut butter lovers. So that's normally my breakfast. And I didn't have that. And so I get to the gas station. No, I was starving, and I stopped at the gas station and I got a peanut butter and jelly Uncrustable, and that was my breakfast.
Delicious.
Hey, 400 calories, almost no protein.
You know what? And I got to pause right there. So there's a group chat I have from the guys, from the dorm dads from camp, and it's actually called the Uncrustables crew. That is the literal. Your cousin is in that group
Greg.
chat. Yes, he's in that as well.
Oh, I want Greg on.
So I'm gonna have to share this podcast with them because they're gonna love the shout out to them. Yeah. Shout out to Uncrustables crew. Dorm season's coming up again. We're gonna do it again. It's gonna be great. But I'm sorry.
But no, that was what I had, and I look over at the rent. I'm in a rental. We'll talk about that in another episode. But I look over and there's like 3 or 4 Uncrustables wrappers sitting on the passenger seat not all from the same day. But I'm looking over it and I'm like,
you started with 1, then you went to 4?
And I look down and I'm like, oh, it's starting. It's happening. I'm falling off the wagon here. And I made a point. Nope. I ran a mile yesterday and I did an exercise yesterday, but today I did it again. It again. I'm like, okay, I can get control of this. It doesn't have, I don't have to backslide all the way out.
You can do it. And even like for Sean, like I know you've been quiet, bro. And I'll say this because I think what I'm going to say is going to resonate with other people as well. Like, don't feel bad about where, you were, because there's a spiritual context too as well, right? You're on fire, you're doing things. So, but on the physical, like I get it. And can they hear the dog?
Yeah,
it's all right.
It's all right.
No, but
Special
so
guest.
what I'm saying, special
Moose
guest
in the house.
4-legged special guest.
Moose is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like, no,
he does not want to come here. Okay. So anyway, what I'm saying is for people watching, you may feel down and disappointed in yourself, but don't stay there. Or even like how you didn't feel like you can contribute as much as you want. It doesn't matter that you started and you stopped. I've started and stopped over the years so many different times. So it doesn't matter how many times you stop. What matters is you just get back up again, and you might stop again in a year.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. As long as you live, as long as you have another day, there's another opportunity. So I want people to understand I'm not like the robot workout fit preacher guy. All he does is work out. No, I laugh. I enjoy life. You guys know, like I enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
The gym is another avenue for me to, it's kind of like free therapy, right?
Yeah.
The gym is just like, you go in there, you let your frustrations out. If you're having a bad day, I've never had a day where that started out bad and I went to the gym and I didn't feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally never one time. So I just want Sean to know, add to the conversation as much as you want. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was more towards me. That's why I was saying it. And you say that, and I think I keep going back to prayer. There's never been a day where I started it with prayer that I didn't regret starting it with prayer. And like I said, it parallels the spiritual and the physical parallel. So now
Faith
imagine
and fitness are like this.
Yeah,
they're like this. They really are.
Imagine praying and working out and getting those frustrations out. You're going to be the best you can be.
Listen,
all day long.
There's been so many times in the morning, like those early morning workouts, where I'm literally praying in the gym as I'm working out, as I'm going through different sets. I'm thinking about my day. Because for me in the morning, that's when the Lord speaks to me the most, is in the morning, right? That's just how it has been. Maybe it's because there's no clutter yet at that point of the day, and my mind is just is open, and I'm receiving what he's telling me. And that combined with working out, for me, there's nothing like it, right? Oh, now you want to come over here?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, I got off track. Overrated, underrated, overrated, underrated. All right, I got a real question because I have bought, and we have First Form as our sponsor.
Shout out to First Form.
And so, man, I haven't had a product I hated, and I've had a lot of products that I've loved from First Form. And so, if you guys are looking for supplements and you're incorporating that into your health and fitness routine, go to the link in our bio in the show description and grab you some First Form. Use our affiliate link, and that'll help us with our show and you with your fitness goals. But the question is this: supplements in general, overrated, underrated?
I would say underrated because of this standpoint. In general, the average person doesn't have a great diet. So I would say underrated because the supplement in its nature, it's supplementing something that you maybe not be getting. Did that sound right? Maybe not.
Yeah,
maybe you don't. But what I'm saying is, I would say underrated because there's so much that you can get depending on what are you trying to supplement. So like different, for me, like amino acids or different vitamins or just protein content. A lot of people, they just don't have enough protein in their diet, right? And so like, well, I'm not gaining muscle. It's like, well, how much protein do you get? And it's like, well, I don't know. They're not even. And I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying I'm not being the track your macros guy. but you should have a kind of an idea of what are you putting in your body on a daily basis. So I would say underrated.
Yeah, man. Okay, so on alongside the supplement train, there are not all supplements are created equal, and this isn't an overrated, underrated, just a question, I guess. If you could only buy one supplement faithfully, what would it be? Like if all you had in the budget was one, because it gets expensive. To be honest, it gets expensive, and I'm just curious. Of all, that's a tough question. I know, especially for somebody who takes supplements. But I'm asking, what would be just the one to buy?
Wow, that is difficult.
Caffeine.
Energy drinks, pre-workout.
Well, I wouldn't say pre-workout because I could just my black coffee. I could do the caffeine there. So I would say probably it would have to be a good plant-based protein because obviously I'm plant-based. So out of all the supplements, that the staple would have to be, if it was just one, plant-based protein.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like along the lines of what I was thinking too.
I was recently told by, I told you both this already, but I'll say it on the podcast. But so my mother-in-law is, she's retired, but she's been a dialysis nurse for most of her career. And my wife had just mentioned recently that I had lost a lot of weight and working out and stuff and taking a bunch of protein. And I was trying to take my goal body weight in grams in protein a day. So 200 grams was my goal. And she was like, well, Sean has one kidney and protein is a function of your kidney, and that's really bad for him.
Yeah.
I was taking too much protein for myself for having one kidney.
And if I would have been thinking, because I keep forgetting, like I know your 4-wheeler thing, right? And we've talked about that in other episodes, your testimony. It never crossed my mind when we started this was like, I'm like, yeah, take all the protein you can.
Destroy that kidney.
Destroy that one functioning kidney. But hey, I got 2 if you ever need one. But I felt so bad. I was like, oh yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. But that's another overrated, underrated. That rule, I've heard it forever. And I'm curious your thoughts on it. The 1 gram per body weight.
I would say that's overrated just because someone that works out all the time and being plant-based. Well, being plant-based, if you're not aware, so I'm about 250. It would be very hard for me on a consistent basis to eat 250 grams of plant-based protein daily. It's not impossible, but
especially without supplements.
As far as without supplementation, so like if there was no protein, right? As far as like a protein shake, if it was just all, my regular meals, that would be I'd have to eat a lot. It's not impossible. And then honestly, of some days I do hit that, not on because I'm trying to, it's just because I'm hungrier. But on average, I don't do over 200 grams of protein, and that doesn't affect my gains. I think that's definitely something overrated. There's some kind of there's some things fitness advice wise that is kind of just goes on from generation to generation. Mm-hmm. The same thing, like you have to have red meat to get muscle, which is what, which I believed when I was younger, but definitely overrated.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing that I've always strived to do, but I always feel like I come short of the goal. But I feel like it's a good bench. I would say, I don't know if I could say over or under with that one, because like I said earlier, there's a different road for everybody, with the fitness thing, and it really does reflect where your goals are. I think if you're trying to lose weight and maybe not just get jacked, you don't need all that you need to watch your calorie intake and exercise more. You need to be in a deficit if you're trying to lose weight. So goals are...
If you're trying to be like a power lifter, then it's not overrated for that person.
Right.
But if you're just a regular person that goes to the gym occasionally, if you're like just a gym bro, if you're just trying to maintain a level of fitness, you don't have to do that. I would say that's overrated for that person.
Okay.
That's not training. That's not what you do for a living.
Yeah. Okay, so macros is the next thing. Tracking your macros. Is it overrated, underrated, or just right? Anybody who gets too deep, or not too deep, even just starting your fitness journey, you're going to hear the word macros. You're going to hear the word micronutrition, macronutrition. How much attention should be put on this thing for somebody who's starting their fitness journey?
I'm going to say it's underrated just because most people that are listening don't know what that is. And then the average person doesn't know what they're putting in their body. So I would say it's underrated because, and I'm not trying to say like I'm a guru. What I'm saying is it's underrated because you should have an idea of what you're putting into your body on a daily basis. Calories, especially because a lot of people, if they're trying to lose weight or they're trying to do something specific fitness wise, but then you're not tracking anything, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you to achieve a goal when you don't know what the target is. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So underrated for that purpose.
Nice. Yeah. So, so micronutrition would be, macronutrition is like your percentage that you eat of protein, fats, carbohydrates, right? That's generally what macros are. When somebody says micronutrition, you think more of minerals and vitamins and that kind of supplementation, right?
Yeah.
And so that was one area where I feel like I always did good. Like I did MyFitnessPal for 3 years. And I counted every.
You know what's better than MyFitnessPal? That has the same stuff.
What is that?
The First Form app.
The First Form
app. Go sign up for the First Form. Yeah. Use the Casting Faith podcast. I can't
affiliate link.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right.
It'll be somewhere in the bio.
Also that the First Form app has like if you're not familiar with the gym, you can pick a plan to work out on. It'll show you a video of how to do it, and you can go along your workout, fill in the weight and the reps, and then it memorizes it. So the next time you go to the gym, you can instead of having to remember like, man, what did I start with last time? You can go like while you're in that workout, you can look at what you ended with, and so you can. It's pretty cool.
That's excellent.
And then it's got macro tracking as well. So
that's awesome.
The First Form app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got coaching as well.
I knew that.
It's pretty cool.
I don't use that. Probably should. You used it, and Sean, he's been quiet this episode, but he crushed a goal. Like, dude, you lost so much weight, and you don't give yourself enough credit for that.
Like I say, I definitely saw him in the gym a couple times, and really early, really dedicated before he went to work. Really getting after. He showed me the app actually in the gym. And yeah, he had his workout completely dialed in. That was awesome.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And so he's done a great job with that too.
That's the gym calling you.
Yeah.
That was Marcus Richardson of
Two Clever Fellas, another new sponsor of the podcast.
Hold on, we should have him on right now.
Alive.
Let's hear from him.
Oh, how do we make this happen? Hello. Hey, bro, welcome to the podcast.
You're doing it right now?
Yeah, you're on the podcast, bro. What's up?
Nice. Well, I'm trying to FaceTime you because, man, I got some house and she's selling a bunch of hunting stuff.
Oh, well, why don't you give a shout out to your company real quick, and then I'll call you back.
Hey, guys, Marcus here from Two Clever Fellas. Calls today.
All right, bro. I'll call you back.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Anyways, sweet.
That was great.
I did the MyFitnessPal thing for 3 years. I counted every single calorie, and I wore the Fitbit. Not a sponsor, but I recommend Fitbit.
Got mine's on.
It tracks my sleep. It never comes off. If I take this off, in fact, I will. I just said it won't come off. I'm probably glowing in the dark right now because of the tan line that comes with it. But it tracks my sleep, so I know how much sleep I'm getting. I know how much time I'm in REM sleep. and all of those things. And it also connected to MyFitnessPal to where it would tell me how many calories I burned that day. And so I knew exactly where I was with the deficit. So, or the surplus that I was trying to be in.
Yeah.
And so I knew everything, but that gets old. And eventually, if you do it long enough, you'll kind of understand this amount of chicken has this much protein.
Yes.
You're eating this similar thing all the time. But where I struggled was micronutrition. And
vitamins,
and you could feel it. I would feel so I would be doing all the right things, but I felt like garbage still.
Yeah.
And I felt depleted and tired, and I shouldn't. And I was like, what am I missing? Like, hey, you're 33 and you're not taking vitamins. You need
a good multivitamin.
You're taking protein, you're taking creatine, you're drinking energy, you're doing all these things, but you're not getting your micronutrition.
I do take vitamins,
so
that's one thing I do.
What's helped me with this is First Form has a complete daily nutrition pack, and it's called Microfactor, and it has everything you need in a convenient pack. And so it's a little baggie that has your fish oil, it has your CoQ10, it has your multivitamin, it has your greens, it has probiotic, it has everything you need.
Wow.
It's like 6 different supplements in one thing, and I just take that with a meal, and I've covered that, and man, I feel a difference.
That's awesome.
And so I would say underrated. Like, you can do all the right things if you're not supplementing and you're not doing
definitely underrated.
These things. It could just be that next push. Now, what is overrated, which is the next part, is if you're I hate somebody needs to hear it. If you're taking all the pre-workouts and you're taking all the protein and you're taking all the creatine and you're taking the micronutrition packets, but you're not working out, it's a waste.
It's a waste of money, and you're just going to just be gaining weight, not good weight also.
Yeah.
So you're going to waste money, and all your efforts will just, it's really bad.
Yeah. So
really bad.
Just doing all of the supplements and not working out is bad, underrated. All right. Next one, last one. This has been a hot topic at the dorms, at the campgrounds. We discuss this every year, right? Cold showers.
Is a Nick Roberts special.
Yeah, Nick Roberts got us on this.
Yes.
Cold showers, cold plunges, Now, if you're in the Alamo, you're getting a cold shower. There is no warm shower. But if this is a thing in fitness right now. The cold plunges, the cold showers in the morning. For mental toughness, there's some health benefits there. In your experience, is this overrated, underrated?
I think it's underrated. Well, it does work. So I would say underrated, because I didn't. You mentioned Nick, and that was the first time that I really heard about it. And he's really knowledgeable about it. So he kind of walked me through it. So I did do it a few times. I don't do it regularly because I just don't like
because it's
showers.
Horrible.
but it does work. So I would say from my personal experience that it's underrated because it does work. And I would say the average person, including me, is not going to do it on a regular basis because I do just love my hot showers. But no, it really, like, for the times I did do it, the mental clarity and just like the energy and just how awake I felt after, I was like, oh, okay, this really works. For me, I just couldn't get into doing it as a regular part of my day or lifestyle. But yeah, it definitely works.
I tried it a couple times when I was working out, and getting up at 4 a.m., well, being at the gym at 4 a.m. from 4 to 5, and coming home, taking a shower, and then turning it all the way to cold for the last like 3 or 4 minutes, if I could last so long. Preface. But when I got out and when I was driving on the way to work, I'm just like the most alive I've ever been.
Yeah.
And my cat's meowing upstairs. She's probably bringing us a sock or something. She's weird. But I had so much more energy in those drives to work than ever.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I've
definitely
done it.
Works.
I've done it. It's hard to continue to do because it's
stupid cat.
It's frustrating. You probably don't even,
really.
It probably won't even pick up.
I bet you
won't
will.
even hear it. But but it's like one of those things where, like, for me, I would have done it before I went to the gym, because you pair that with your coffee or your energy drink and pre-workout, you're ready to go.
Definitely would be.
That'd probably be like the best workout ever.
Yeah, I think so. But all right, final thoughts. Last cast, Fred. You got any final words of encouragement for this episode for anyone who feels like they've already blown it? They've blown their New Year's resolution. Any words of encouragement to get them back on the wagon? And then where can people find you? Content, merch, all the things. Give us that final word.
I would say really, and I've said it before, but you really just got to forget about yesterday because you can't go back and do anything over from the previous day. You know, like we're not time travelers, right? Mm-hmm. But it's, you have to, whatever day you have to do it to the best of your ability and be comfortable with knowing that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to be sometimes not as consistent, not as disciplined, but don't let that be a deterrent that holds you back. Just the next day, do better, learn from your mistakes, try as much as you can to be more consistent, the best version of yourself on that day. You can only work, I mean, and this whole time I'm thinking about all different scriptures, not trying to be preachy, but you got to forget about the past yesterday. You do have to press forward to the next day and then know that this day is all that I have. What am I going to do with this day? What am I going to do with these hours, these 24 hours? What am I going to do? Do it to your best of your ability. Do it to glorify God. Do it to make your family proud. Do all those things. And if you mess up the next day, try to do better. Mm-hmm. It's simple, but if you do it that way, you won't beat yourself up every time. Because you know what? You're going to mess up. I mess up all the time at something, right? There's something that I want to do better every day, as disciplined and focused as time. But there's something that I will do. I'm like, I could have did that better. I could have shown up better here. And then you just take that and you let it grow you instead of letting it defeat you. That's what I would say.
That's awesome, man.
Cool.
Well,
good word.
Yeah, man. Thanks for showing up and bringing
Absolutely.
This to us.
Thank you.
Man, we're always grateful to have you on. I think
you did ask about that. So
yeah.
Social media, Instagram, The Fit Preacher. You'll find me there. I try to do like daily content, just something that is going to inspire, motivate, but also equip, because I'm trying to pair faith and fitness together, trying to bring the conversation there. I do have, I didn't talk about the podcast that's coming up. So the Faith and Fitness podcast is something that's going to be coming up. Probably the next time I'm on here, I'll talk about the date. I'm working on that with our friend Francesca. But Marcus, who was on there, the little impromptu, that is his wife. We're starting a podcast together talking about faith and fitness. And it's both of us together because it's going to be the man's voice and the woman's voice, so we can bring a broader audience and understanding of everything faith and fitness together. So that's something that we're working on now.
That's awesome, man. Awesome and needed. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on. We're going to have you on real soon. To the listeners out there, don't just stay strong, but stay faithful. If you fall, get back up. Whether you're in the gym or in just everyday life, we want you to cast faith and stay consistent in all things. But we're grateful for everybody who tuned in today. Visit our link notes in the description. If you need some of the supplementation to help you give that extra push, visit that. Casting Faith. Our websites and our affiliate links are in the bio. So visit that. And it's, I believe, firstform.com/castingfaith if you need to pick up some of these supplements. But until then, we will see you next time.
And if you need some coffee.
That's right. Backbone Coffee. Also in the link of the description. Backbone Coffee. Solid coffee.
I'll tell you, I just ordered mine today. So
nice. Which one did you get?
Let you know. What
was it?
I want to say
Graveyard Shift?
No, it was the
Overtime Drive.
First one. Yes, Overtime Drive.
Nice.
That's what I ordered. So
nice. All good, man.
Use promo code CastingFaith at checkout for 15% off.
Yes, I did get my 15% off. I love my savings. So thank you for that, guys.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, until next time, guys, cast faith in your everyday life.
We'll see ya.
Sight of comment, and subscribe.